York using the pandemic to find new victims. The Wall Street Journal warning about two common crimes everyone should be on the lookout for. Text and phone scams designed to trick you. Nancy Grace is the host of Crime Stories on Fox Nation. You can download a free chapter of her upcoming book, Don't Be a Victim, focused on coronavirus-related crimes at crimeonline.com. Nancy, good morning. Great of you to be here. First, what do we need to know about how they're trying to scam us using our phones and even texting?
Well, right now, the FDA and others, including the FBI, are warning about phishing, which is when you get fake emails, smishing, when you get fake texts, and robocalls, when you get calls about fake cures, treatments, and so forth. And the latest one is even a text that you get stating that someone close to you has tested positive for COVID-19. Click here for more information. Fake emails and texts from the IRS, from the government, and they look real.
Wow. You put together a list of how to avoid these scams, Nancy. You say don't respond to the text, emails, or calls that you're or calls about government checks. Ignore online offers for vaccinations and home test kits. Hang up on robocalls. Watch for emails claiming that they're from the CDC or the World Health Organization. And bottom line, you say do your homework when it comes to donations. What finally do we need to know on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, if you get a text or an email or a phone call from WHO or CDC, go to their official website and check it out. If you get a robocall, you typically hear a tape. Hang up. Whatever you do, don't push a button. Especially with these door-to-door salesmen that are selling testing kits. They're not testing kits. There's no vaccination or cure right now. People are approaching victims' doors dressed in medical garb. If they get their toe in the door, it's like the camel's nose in the tent. The tail will surely follow. You don't want them in your home. You don't want to click on a fake ad that could download malware and get your credit card information.
Yeah, and when it comes to those donations, I know you say it's really important not to donate by cash, gift card, or wiring money. Lastly, I want to ask you, and by the way, here's some of the numbers on the complaints. These are unbelievable to look at. 20,000 reports of complaints to the FTC over these scams, $15.6 million lost. So watch out, everybody, and those are good warnings. Finally, I want to ask you about the FDA issuing this warning about home COVID-19 tests. What are we hearing there, Nancy?
Well, it's actually getting worse than just the warning. I worked for a period of time at the Federal Trade Commission, and they're on it. Here's what's happening. I have just covered two recent COVID-19 testing type cases where perps approach the door in medical garb like surgical masks, and then a home invasion occurs. So what they're doing is a distraction robbery. They open the door, you get the door open to them, thinking they're trying to help you with COVID-19. They get in your home, rob you or worse, and at the very least, they get your bank or credit card information. So between the robocalls that you pointed out, the emails and the texts, now door-to-door sales at a time when we should be pulling together, the criminals are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah. All right, something to look out for. Nancy Grace, thank you. And you can catch much more of Nancy on her Fox Nation show, Crime Stories. Thank you, Nancy.
All right, you can see the governor, Andrew Cuomo, here in New York, is talking to the press. We're going to dip in live.
The hospital is still about 2,000 per day, and that is still very high. So that, yes, fewer people in the hospital, fewer people being intubated, but still 2,000 people walking in the door. And if you notice, it's hovered about the same rate for several weeks. It peaked, but 2,000, that's a very high number. Number of deaths, unfortunately, refuses to come down dramatically. 630. That is still breathtaking in its pain and grief and tragedy. And basically flat again, like many of the other numbers. Just in terms of overall context, where are we? Where are we going? Everybody wants to ask that question every day, and I understand that. We have to get to tomorrow. What is the final conclusion of this ugly chapter? I still believe it's when we have a vaccine, when people know that this virus is totally controlled. That's 12 to 18 months. Hopefully it can be sooner. Maybe there's a medical treatment in between. We hope, we pray. A lot of medical companies are working very hard on it right here in this state, all across the country. That would totally change the trajectory. People who are looking for a quick fix, a quick answer, it would be a medical treatment. That would be the quick fix. Announcement of a vaccine, that would be a quick fix. In the meantime, it's going to be an incremental process between today and tomorrow. As much as people don't want to hear that, that's the truth. You're not going to hear any day soon, it's over, the nightmare ends, and we wake up. It's going to be incremental, and we have to be smart as we do this. Do no harm, control the rate of infection as we go through this. We also have a lot of work to do operationally in terms of the healthcare system and now testing, which I'll talk about in a minute. The testing tracing is the guideposts through this, right? As we're working our way over the next several months, the testing, which is informing us as to who can go back to work, helping us isolate people, it's about testing. And testing is...
But it's not easy to set these meetings up. So what people end up doing is they use the same information for every single event. This is kind of like giving the keys to your front door every time you make a phone call to someone. That's a problem. What Woven does is we make it easy for people to set up their meetings so that they can have a separate Zoom meeting room for every single one of their discussions. And not only is it easy to create, but everybody that you're coordinating with knows what it is. And this avoids the Zoom conflict that often occurs where your next meeting runs into your last meeting.
Fascinating. Timothy, I'm afraid I'm out of time, but you're the guy who's going to fix at least most of the fix for Zoom's security problem. Thanks very much for being on the show. And come back again when I've got more time, okay? When things return to normal, we'll have a lot more time. I promise you that. Timothy Campos, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. I have to ask a kind of a rhetorical question. Did you see this? House Speaker Pelosi sitting in her kitchen, stocked with expensive ice cream. That, as millions of Americans are unemployed, we've got the sound, you'll want to hear it, we've got it for you. MSNBC host Stephanie Rule suggests that Joe Biden form a shadow government to counter President Trump's coronavirus responses. What's that all about? Well, we will deal with it next.
Tonight, the pandemic's market impact. Where can you find safety in the ongoing volatility? Liz Ann